Hi everybody, I've been having a few little problems with recording and stuff. I think people might have noticed it. Slight echoing and things going on because my video recorder records perfectly as narration or as computer, but the two don't match together, and I sound okay, but then there's an echo. And then every time on the larger Hangouts I go to edit, because obviously you want to listen to them more than me, if I touch any of it, then it takes seconds of the video out and puts the video out of kilter to what's being said. But having me in, everybody's echoing. So you can hear a little bit of me and Patricia talking. She sounds quite muffled. But after a few minutes of this, if I left that on, everything starts echoing, and then the next person's saying words, and everything's echoing, and it's just an absolute nightmare. But I think I've sorted it out now. I turn the volume off and I turn the microphone off, and I can be on my phone on the Hangout and record it all in one go without any editing whatsoever, because it's been taking me hours. I've been doing this video since 7:30. It's now nearly 12:30. That's 5 hours and I haven't even uploaded it yet, and I'm adding this bit to it. Unfortunately, it isn't for Josh's one. You know, I don't have this problem on shorter videos, but it just seems the long Hangouts, then there's a problem and they just don't match, and the moment you start messing around. Anyway, the Hangout was brilliant. It was very engaging. You're just not going to hear much of me. Anyway, just to let everybody else know, we should be having a Hangout with Crow 777 and Jason this week, so I'm very looking forward to that. Anyway, on to the next bit and then on to the Hangout. Thanks for listening. So I've got it now, so hopefully the Hangout we had today was brilliant, but hopefully for the future now, I've managed to sort it out. Anyway, I don't think it takes anything away from the Hangout, but people do say they like to hear my voice, but you've heard me now at the beginning. So anyway, so enjoy the rest of the video. Hey, me and Patricia are just putting this little bit at the beginning of the video because we've been talking to Joshua today, and he is a concaver, but a lot of what he says we understand. So Patricia had the brilliant words about the people, didn't you, Patricia? Do you remember what you said?
Well, if you look at the Bible, people say, oh, I need proof. Because if there was no God, then nothing else would make sense to some people. Obviously, if you don't believe in God, then everything makes sense. But we always need proof of whatever it is we're trying to find the answers to. So it's like if the electric light, we know that light's going to go on because we've got the electricity going to it, and we see the end result of a light bulb. And people accept that. They don't think, well, how did the electricity get there in the first place? You know, we need to have proof, you know, especially if you just don't question anything, you're not going to want to know the truth, are you? You're not want to know the ins and outs. I suppose I could go back to my childhood when my uncle used to make used to have a lot of electronic stuff and that, and he was always looking into how that got there, and it sort of got me interested in it a little bit, like where did that come from before that. And I'm just waffling now, Karen, sorry, just digress me onto something.
Falling asleep, haven't you?
No, I was listening. It's just sorry everybody, I've been given a curry here and I was eating the curry.
Oh, that's why you wanted me to speak, right? So you could eat the curry. Oh,
no, okay. but you put it in a nice way that, you know, Sun and Moon, we're here to listen to the people.
Put the pieces together.
Yeah, there's lots of bits of puzzles. And we don't...
Like I said,
go on, Patricia.
And like I said to Josh, it's about, well, what you mentioned it, about putting the pieces together. The end result might not be anything that we expect, but it's fun trying to work it out. And for thousands of years, they've probably been doing the same thing, just maybe on different subjects. If you think about every subject in the world, there's loads. So maybe this is what we're supposed to do.
But we're here to listen, and so we just wanted to put this bit out at the beginning of the Hangout to say, you know, generally, flat Earth isn't about the land exactly to me. It's about everything. It's about so many things. But we're at a stage where we're just listening to the people and nobody's got the answer yet. So this is why we've had the hangout with Josh, and he's also one of my friends. And there's masses that we do agree on. And Patricia said something very nice at the end of the hangout. Anyway, we wanted to stick this on at the beginning just so that people understood that Sun and Moon is a platform for the people and we're listening.
Yeah, because that, like I said on the thing, the information's there, but if there weren't people, we wouldn't be able to get that information. We wouldn't have that information. So we don't get information from dogs and cats and bees and birds and all that lot. We get it from people, and that's what's important. It's not so much the information, but the fact that people are talking to one another, and you know, we're gaining this information. Whatever you're interested in, whether it's flat Earth or psychology or whatever, we need people, and we have to remember that it's the people that count.
I think that's enough, Patricia, just to put at the beginning for everybody to understand. Yeah. See, when Patricia gets going. Anyway, it's good to hear you talk, and that's why I put the recorder back on, and I just thought it was a great way to explain to people before we actually get into this hangout with Josh. But Patricia, thank you for that.
You're welcome, Karen. Back.
Hey, hello, Sun and Mooners. We are back. We are back today with Joshua from NIST. Now, today we're having a slightly different conversation because Joshua is a concaver. But we thought, as flat earthers, we're here, we're open, we are listening. So we thought, well, Joshua is a friend of mine, and a lot of what we talk about, we agree on. Just that we believe we're more of a flat plane, and he believes most things are concave. But anyway, how are you, Joshua? And with us today is our lovely Patricia, by the way.
Hello, everyone.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's really, it's cool. I hope we're gonna have a fun conversation. Well, it all started around, late 2015 with, I saw flat Earth videos, clues, and then 200 proofs, and a bunch of, several others. You see one, you keep watching more, and you're like, it's pretty clear that, after a little while, you really start questioning the rotation of the Earth. That was really the biggest, that was the biggest thing for me, is that we live on a stationary, we're traveling all these speeds, and it's just, regardless of shape, like, what the heck is all up with that? Right. So that's what got, and of course, flat Earth, at the time in 2015, there was a lot of information available, but not like there was in 2016 and 2017. There was so much, and now it seems like there's a lot less, and people are taking down their stuff, or YouTube is, or whatever, and it's just not coming up in feeds anymore. So there's definitely some changes that have been happening. It's pretty clear that they don't want any type of ulterior cosmology thriving. It's obviously, I mean, if they're gonna brainwash little children to think XYZ, then they're obviously not gonna want to, if that's what it takes to hide it from a person, they're gonna hide it from adults too. So I'm surprised that information was so available as it was. I'm surprised they let, because this is, these platforms that are provided to us, we don't own that. We're just simply allowed to use it, and I'm surprised they've allowed it to continue as long as it has, to be honest with you. Yeah, how so many goofy things get millions of views, and it's like, this is important. And no, sure, yeah, well, getting back to, the observable, back in 2015, I really hadn't considered the shape of the Earth. I was just going about my life. I was just one of those, and I really realized, like, it kind of snapped me out of it. Regardless of shape, like, we're being lied to about our habitat. That alone you know, even as a child, I always used to wonder how come. I used to ask my mom, how come they spend all of that money in launching stuff into outer space, but at the same time, there's all kinds of commercials on TV about poverty and, you know, and hunger and all this other stuff. Like, how there's such a misallocation of financial resources. You know, such a small amount of people own all the money, and it's like most of the people on Earth, we all own like 3% of the money. It's crazy. It's all it's the whole financial structure is a hoodwink anyway. You know? Yeah, 50 something. It's a day. It's crazy. Yeah, it's either way. It seems kind of high, you know. Hey, no, that seems kind of high too, because you know, yeah. So that's another thing, you know, along with the lack of probability that we live on a rotating Earth. You know, part of my journey back in 2015 was realizing that, again, regardless of shape, the sun is incredibly close to us and very difficult to ascertain the actual altitude or position of, and I think I've understand why now after a few years of sleeping on the subject. Right, whether we're on the ground, we're seeing a small, close light source. Whether you're looking from a high altitude balloon, still it appears in a different position and at a different altitude, but nonetheless, it's still a small, close local light source. So at no point has anyone even shown a sun 93 million miles away. Not even a sun that looks like it. We never see a sun that looks that far away. So I just don't see what kind of evidence. There's not even any visual optical evidence that the sun is that far. No one has ever recorded a sun that does appear 93 million miles away. No, it always appears right close to the camera, right close to the eye, regardless of the shape of the Earth, you know. That's, well, not only straight down, but like you get some pretty severe angles out of those rays, and it indicates that they can't. It's just simple triangular geometry. If you have lines going like this, then your Earth is down here. I mean, it just it can't be 93 million miles away when the. So great point. Right now, the sun is right in my sky here in the States, and in yours, right. So if you have a viewability range where you can only see so far, and so do I, then how the heck is there a position of the sun that accommodates for both? There must be two different suns, or the sun is locally manifested to each viewer, and I think the later is the case. I definitely believe that there's things that our eyes cannot see, even potentially tangible things that we can't see, and that would make total sense because there might be things within our altitude range here on the surface of the Earth that our eyes need in order to see. And if there are things that exist at altitudes that don't have the proper environment, then our eyes are going to be, occluded from that reality. So I think there's definitely things up above us that are tangible that we can't see. But that's just my belief. There's a preponderance of evidence that would lead things to be in a certain direction. About what is or isn't way up in the sky that we can't see, but the very fact is if we can't see it, and we can't touch it, and we can't taste it, smell it, if we can't do any of those things, then we can't consider it absolute fact or real, because that would just fall into the realm of faith, belief and stuff like that. And I think belief is a very dangerous thing because a belief may convince someone that they have a truth. And if someone believes they have a truth on a particular matter, then that's going to prevent them from seeking because they think they already have it. So belief for me is a very dangerous tool because belief will essentially get someone to gatekeep themselves, Actually, I've been as far as being online, I've actually been not busy lately. I was making more uploads than I have been the past few months, just maybe just a handful in the past couple of months. So, but yeah, I did have that conversation with Hori and David and Joshua and Nayland and Holly, and that was I thought most of that was pretty cool. I had some fun. Well, it was pretty interesting because one of the panel members was David, and he actually, a couple days later, he was on with Alex Jones and Eddie Bravo and some other guy that I don't know of. I'm sorry, I don't recall his name offhand. But it was that conversation that I was watching on the InfoWars channel. It was pretty fun for me to watch. It was pretty funny. So it seems that throughout all of this, Alex Jones has been paying attention to the shape of the Earth, but he's more of a tongue-in-cheek kind of guy, as far as I can tell. Yeah, I from what I can see, I've never actually seen any flat water. I've seen water that appears flat at my size, relative to the size of the Earth. Well, sure, convex earthers say it, flat earthers say it, concave earthers say it too. Water finding its level, for me, just a phrase, doesn't prove the shape of water. Yeah, for me, I mean, with the Earth rotating that fast, gravity would have to be so strong that I can't see how smoke would go up, or how anything would go up. People say, well, the speeds that we're going, rotating, the heliocentrist claim would say, well, the Earth is so big that speed really isn't all that fast. But it is that fast, regardless of size. See, speed is speed, regardless of size. It doesn't matter. Speed, it doesn't matter if it's a small object or a large object. Speed doesn't care about size. 37 miles an hour is 37 miles an hour, whether it's for a guy on a bike or whether it's a guy driving a bus. It's still 37 miles an hour, no matter how you play. There's in machining, there's in at least in CNC machining, there's a modal command that there's two types of codes. There's M codes and G codes. A G code is a modal command that tells the machine how to think, and a movement code, an M code, is a movement code that tells the machine where to move, an X, Y, Z coordinate. So there's two different types. So one of them is called G96. G96 deals with constant surface speed control. So as you're rotating a bar of stock, and you've got metal tools that come in and cut that stock into certain shapes and sizes, if you're trying to, if you're trying to just face the stock and just create a flat surface on the stock, or rotating, 2,000 RPM, 3,000, whatever. If you want to create a nice finish, then as that tool comes down and faces, cuts the metal, the diameter is constantly getting smaller. So if your RPM stays the same, then you've got less and less distance per rotation the closer you get to the center of that rotating cylindrical bar of stock that's rotating 2,000, 3,000, whatever. So you have something called constant surface speed control, which there's two ways to control that. Either you leave the rotation speed of the stock a constant and you slowly increase or decrease the feed of the tool, the feed rate of the tool, how fast it moves towards the center. Or you leave the feed rate a constant rate of feed, and you slowly change the RPM of the stock. And what that does is that creates the same amount of distance per rotation to the tool to maintain the same type of quality finish throughout. So you don't get it shiny here and, a coarse finish over here and a nice finish here, because there's a mismatch in anyways. So when I realized that, I was like, wow, that directly relates to the rotation of Earth, where it's 1,037 miles an hour at the equator, but as you move north or south, hypothetically on a rotating sphere, that speed lowers. It lowers because you're dealing with smaller distance. For me, the fact, if we lived on a sphere rotating that fast, then there shouldn't be stationary water anywhere. If you've got rock moving at even hundreds of miles an hour, then how is there a body of water that's not constantly being, and they say gravity. Okay, well, gravity for a body of water as big as a lake, that's a big chunk of water. We're not just talking about a drop here or a gallon. That's a big mass of water. And so for a force would have to be so strong to keep water that still while it's rotating that fast, that I just don't see how that force can allow bugs, birds, and enter Eric's, rant on that one. But you know what I'm talking about. It just doesn't make any sense. And so if we can't demonstrate that in reality, I could see how it's feasible water could stick to the inside or outside of a stationary ball, but rotation, even if you had water on the inside or outside of a ball, which I think is possible, there would, once you start rotating the Earth, whether concave, convex, flat, whatever, regardless of shape, once you start rotating or moving that surface, the water is not gonna, it's gonna swash around like gas in a tank. There's just no basis for that kind of reality. And well, yeah, I mean, I would think that if eventually, if you had a spinning rock with water sticking to it, I mean, number one, all the water should collect near the equator, but it should never be still. Should never be still water. Well, I think generally I think the airline industry does have working maps that are spherical, and so I don't know of any flat map that can be used to navigate with. Yeah, I definitely. First of all, I definitely don't think there's any downwards curvature. So my position comes from realizing that for many reasons the Earth has to be flat or concave. Unfortunately, there's also many reasons where the Earth has to be concave or convex, and so it's just like a process of elimination kind of thing. I think the heliocentric model is grossly ridiculous. Aside from rotation, like the distances of all these, aside from the distances, just the concept of a vast universe and an Earth moving around it, it's just not what we observe, because we wouldn't see the same stars all the time. You know what I mean? Like, so whether it's flat or concave or convex, really, it's just that there's no, aside from rotation, there's no traversing of the, even an Earth that wouldn't not rotating. It's just there's not an Earth moving through space. It just doesn't exist. It's just space moving about the Earth. You know what I mean? Right. If Mario's the Earth, Mario never moves. It's the screen that moves. It's exactly right. But it has the illusion that Mario's on this journey, and really the journey just moves by, through, and around Mario. Mario never leaves center of the screen. You know what I mean? He's center stage the whole time. Well, both. I mean, there's more and more people are coming. I don't want to say coming away from flat Earth, but just, well, first of all, flat Earth is kind of like a label. Flat Earth is like a label for people who question their reality, and I think it's kind of a misrepresentation for most people. I think too many people have kind of been, I'm trying to choose the right word. I think many people have been too hasty to believe the Earth is flat because they've been presented with so much good evidence that the Earth is not a spinning ball. And because the Earth is not a spinning ball, and because there's, pretty good evidence that this theory of gravity is false, that it's just easy for a person to fall into the camp of people that believe that any spherical water has to be fake or a psyop or a lie, just because gravity fails. There are other things that can create spherical water besides gravity. So they've also been shown lots of visual evidence that even I myself, I have a P900. I've provided lots of evidence that the Earth is not convex. We can see way too far for that at such a low altitude that I've made observations at certain distances, at short distances, that disprove the convexity based on the spherical numbers. That's accurate for about 300 miles, but then the curvature math isn't a constant. It's not 8 inches per mile squared the whole radius. Once you get over here, it's not 8 inches per mile squared anymore. However, within the first 300 miles, which is about all we can film anyways, for our film range, that formula is accurate enough. Excuse me. So once you get over here, a quarter way around the radius, it's a different curvature formula. But for within 300 miles, that's an accurate enough, so it's accurate enough to use for our viewability range. Beyond our viewability range, it's still accurate enough. But the point is that we could see way too far for there to be, even at half my zoom for the P900, I'm still seeing at distances that I shouldn't see. I shouldn't be able to see the entire lighthouse over off Revere Beach. I shouldn't, over back in Boston where, my neck of the woods where I'm from. I think it's just light occlusion, and because there's no such thing as a straight wave. I think everything's bending. Our not only does light bend, but our line of sight bends. However, that's at greater distances. We can see too far for there to be any downwards curvature, and so many people fall for, okay, well, gravity is fake and there's no downwards curvature, so the Earth must be flat. Okay, well, for me, I had to snap out of that type of thinking because it's very hasty. Just because there's no downwards curve doesn't mean there isn't an upwards curve, because we can still see far within a surface that's curving upwards. And just because gravity is a hoax doesn't mean there's not several other things that can bend water, including air pressure, sound, frequency. Magnetism will bend water. I think both are true. I mean, if you have a concave surface and you've got bending light, then at times you could be looking, your line of sight could be arching down towards the surface while the surface is curving up, and then your line of sight would curve upwards after that. That's the very reason why off in the distance you see the windmills, but you don't see the whole windmill. It seems like you only see half the windmill, and the bottom half of the windmill is occluded by the waterline horizon. And so, excuse me, that's something that the convex Earth camp would say, well, there you have it. How come you can't see the entire windmill if the Earth is flat? Obviously, the windmill is over the curve. And flat earthers know that's not true, because we can zoom twice that distance and still see the entire object. So we know it's something. Even if a person hasn't gone down that road scientifically and figured out how the eye works and lenses work and light and all that stuff, clearly, if you have windmills being occluded, but then twice that distance, I can see the entire shoreline in a whole city and boats and all that. I can see the whole thing twice. So obviously, there's something else. There's got to be another way to explain that. Those things can't be over the curve, while things twice as far away aren't over the curve yet. It's just illogical. So obviously, there's no way around it. There's obviously things going on with bending light and the way we see things. But I've shown that at close range, within just 5 to 7 miles, it's pretty obvious to me that the water is concave, because I get so close to the water, which is something I encourage lots of people to do. I seem to be the only one, and while that's kind of cool, it's not very scientific. And so I encourage more people to produce footage where they put their waters right on, put your P900 right on the water. Get the bottom of your P900 wet across a lake or something, and zoom across, and you'll see boats at different distances, and you'll be able to tell that water's perfect up. It's concave, and that's why the flat maps don't work. It's not. There's no flat, the square. Like, I've got videos, discussing how Ronnie and Jason come up with their flat projections, but there's, you know how you can see things miraged at the distance? A lot of mirages appear like as above, so below. There's like a mirror there where like the tree line will mirage up, and well, not mirage up, but you can see that the mirage is this above is the same as below. There's a point of convergence to the mirage, and it always appears higher than the hard waterline horizon. You know what I'm talking about, right? That hard horizon that you get when you zoomed out with a camera. The furthest you can see, it seems like that's the edge of all water, and like just nothingness. It just drops off. It's just, you know what I mean? And it's obviously just a, yeah. Hey, do you think I could screen share something real quick? Oops, I gotta remember how to do it. There we go. Okay, I got it. I got it. Yeah, I got it. All right, there we go. Okay, so one thing I wanted to show was just this right here, and I'll mute this so we don't have to listen to that stuff. But it seems, okay, so right here, my altitude is so low. So like filming from a tripod, I can understand you'd say, okay, well the further object, that's just perspective, people, flat earthers will say. Well, not at this altitude. When this boat is 3 or 4 feet high, this boat is probably 40, 50, 60 feet high. If I'm only a couple of inches over the water and the water's flat, both of these boats should be near the same elevation, you see? So I see strong visual evidence that water is curving up. I've got tons of them, and I've got tons of footage like this where you can, well, it's not going to appear as a wall because, like Dave and Joshua said, it's 100 miles out. It should be 1 mile elevation. It's 100 to 1 ratio. So, I mean, if you look 100 miles out and you're looking 1 mile elevation, then that's relatively eye level anyways. But here you can clearly see, and I provide proof of my camera altitude. It's pretty obvious to me that there should be more people trying to put their zoom cameras right along the surface of the water. Well, this type of visual observation, I mean, I do think it's better if you have known distances and known heights, and you do measure the actual shape of water. However, regardless of the actual numbers, we can visually see that these boats, I'm zooming shoreline to shoreline, my camera altitude is 2 or 3 inches above the water, maybe 4, 5, 6 inches, whatever. It doesn't matter. These boats are 2 to 3 feet high. So if water were flat, then that shoreline and this boat should be at the same elevation. They should all be level. And they're not. These boats are, I'm seeing over the boats, shoreline to shoreline. So you see what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think so. Because even with a naked eye, I could see Boston from Gloucester, and that's 25 miles away. If the Earth were really convex, then Well, that's why I'm saying, because I can make a similar observation with my eyes. I could see Boston from Gloucester. That's 25. That's an even greater distance than this. That's what I'm saying. My naked eye can see. This is done with this is zoomed across Lake St. Clair, and I'm zooming across, at most 13 miles. And I'm using a zoom camera and showing the shoreline above the boats. However, when I was in Gloucester, rather, at the Eastern Point Lighthouse, which you can find that here in my footage playlist. You can find all these videos. Let's see, where is it? This playlist here. This playlist here shows a lot of the footage that I've done with my P900. Anyways, the point is that you could see Boston with a naked eye, and that was 24 miles away, between 21 and 25 miles away. And so with without a camera, so maybe our naked eye, if the Earth were really a convex ball, you shouldn't see anything 25 miles away, 21 miles away. Shouldn't be possible. So, well, right here, it clearly appears convex. To me, it doesn't appear flat; it appears convex. But I don't think that. First of all, this light source appears for the people on the ground. That sun is appearing right there in their clouds for those people. But with the camera on the balloon at 20-mile altitude, we're seeing the sun. See here, that looks convex as well, and I don't think that's convex. I think you can see there's more land there. There's more land over here. There's more land over here. And that's why I say they're hiding more land, is because there's more land in the darkness. Right. And so, like, here's a good example. The people down on the ground, they're seeing the sun in the clouds, like way down here. But from the camera, we never see the sun like way down here in the clouds from the camera. But the people on the ground do. So how the heck is that? That's what I was talking about before, where like there is no position of the sun, there is no altitude of the sun, there is no actual. This sun is locally manifesting itself to this camera. And for the people on the ground, it's locally manifesting in a completely different place. It's locally manifesting in the clouds for the people on the ground. And so but from the camera doesn't see the sun down there in the clouds, it sees it up here, which means that there is no, every camera or every eye is going to see the sun from their own perspective. And so the sun is a small, close local light source, but trying to track the position of the sun, you're going to endlessly chase your tail, because you're going to realize each person has its own, right. And that's one thing that for me, that debunked both heliocentricity and flat Earth, because flat Earth was trying to track the position of the sun, and heliocentric Earth, Wolfie, Reds, all those guys, they were all trying to, track the position of the sun. And from the ground, the people on the ground could have a position of the sun, but the people in the sky have a completely different position of the sun. From the ground, you can see airplanes seem like they go through the clouds, but no one has ever said, "Oh, I was on a plane and we flew through the sun." Like, that doesn't. Right. That's what I'm saying. But no one on an airplane has ever claimed, "Oh, we went through the sun," because the people on the airplane, the plane doesn't go through the sun for the people on the airplane. For the people on the airplane, the sun is still, further away than that. So it wasn't the airplane going through the sun. It was an airplane going through somebody's sun. But there is no the sun on from the. There's no. Check this footage. Look at this. Okay, you see this? So I've featured this in several of my videos. We're seeing, this is an apparition of the sun that the camera is seeing. Again, the people on the ground, they're not seeing the sun up here. They're seeing the sun right down there with them. But there's also this thing. What the heck is this diamond shape? Now, this is only seen through this lens flare. Once this lens flare progresses, goes away, all of a sudden that diamond shaped thing is gone. Where did it go? What the heck just Well, there's patents for that, and there's reason to believe that. Why wouldn't they create something like that? Try to reproduce a sun that seems right up their alley. They got the money. They're taking all our money for it. So I guess they have all kinds of fancy ideas and things that they could be doing up in the sky. And who knows? They probably are doing stuff like that. But hey, it's possible. I don't. If that's true, if they do, whether they do or don't have sun simulators up in the sky, I still think my understanding of the actual sun is correct. But I don't know. It's pretty interesting. I still have more questions than answers, That's for sure. Yeah, for me, I mean, I think the maps are a huge problem, and I don't want to strawman anybody, but I mean, for me, if I think the way we travel and the way we navigate. I mean, I think we live in a spherical Earth. I haven't seen any flat. I haven't seen a flat surface that's navigable. Yeah, that's why I'm saying for that. That's one of those scenarios where the Earth has to be flat or concave, because if it's convex, we shouldn't. I mean, shouldn't happen. So that's one of the things that totally rules out convex Earth, is our ability to see way beyond that type of curvature. Well, when you actually look at that graph, I might have put it in one of my videos. When you actually look at that graph, I don't have the image. I'm not on my computer right now, so I don't have that image anymore. But when you actually look at that, we've all seen that image where the pancake had a certain flatness, and Kansas actually rose up like this. Kansas, if you actually look at that graphic, Kansas is concave, and so the concavity of Kansas is closer to flat than the convexity of the pancake, making Kansas flatter than the pancake. Although neither Kansas nor the pancake are flat. One's concave, one's convex. I think there's so little land in the south. The southern hemisphere contains more water. Most of humanity lives above the equator. Most everything is above the equator, and so down south, there really isn't. I think there is a hole in Antarctica, which I do think is a continent. But I think it could be a larger continent than we're allowed to know. And I do think there's a hole in it, technically making it an ice ring. Yeah, I think they're definitely censoring the poles, north and south, especially the south. And I think they're hiding more than just size and shape and whether there's a hole or not. There's other things that they wanted to hide down there. There's many reasons why the Antarctic Treaty exists. I don't think it's because they're hiding an ice ring on a flat Earth, but I think they're definitely hiding the size, and they're hiding lots of things down there. And they're hiding. I think a lot of what they're hiding would prove a lot of things about the Earth, and shape might be one. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just a line drawn on a map. It could the actual equator could be slightly off or different. I think it's rather close. I think they have it pretty close. I think the globe maps are rather accurate as far as the mapping of the Earth. Now, there's not the obviously not the convex globe, but I think the spherical maps of the Earth are close. But none of them go into great detail about the poles, north or south. There's several different globe maps, first of all, but they're all just like little small deviations from each other. It's when you look at flattened globe maps, then you've got all these different, But what I'm talking about is if you lay out all this, if you take every city and call it a dot, you connect all the dots. There's no flat scenario that works. You know what I mean? And because we know they're hiding things at the poles. Maybe the Earth isn't a perfect sphere. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I just don't see a flat scenario that works. But I just don't see the globe maps that they've given us are in conjunction with a heliocentric Earth, number one, which is why they hide the poles from us, because they want to act like, oh, those are just too cold, poles of axis, and it's so cold over there because whatever, and it's just ice up there and ice down there. That's what they want us to believe, and so if they wanted to show an accurate depiction of we wouldn't have all these different, there shouldn't be different projections. The whole reason projections exist is because they want to lay out the Earth on a piece of paper. And you can't do that in a spherical fashion. That's why the word projections exists in cartography, is because if the Earth were actually flat, there would just be one map. There wouldn't be all these different projections. But if the Earth were a perfect convex globe, there also wouldn't be all these different projections. There would be one. There'd be a rectangular one and a circular one. Well, for example, one thing I realized was that the Gleason had the AE maps have so many problems that it couldn't be that flat Earth was the total truth, because these distances just don't work in the South, from South America to South Africa, and then Australia and all that stuff. These distances were just crazy ridiculous, and that's what got me to realize that both heliocentricity and flat Earth, it's kind of like a joke to me now, like a false dichotomy, And while I don't exactly, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that the LSC model of the concave Earth is the total truth either. I don't think I have the whole truth, but I definitely realized that I had fallen for round two of some type of deception. And while I'm incredibly thankful for flat Earth, because flat Earth does bring forth so many truths to the table, there's more things to learn after that. And like heliocentric Earth and flat Earth and concave Earth, there's going to be more. There is no end of the journey. There's no like, aha, I have the truth and I can stop looking now, because yeah, of course. And as a flat earther, I had fallen under the category. I thought I knew it all, and I was like, wait a minute, maps don't work. I still had so many questions as a flat earther. And once I researched concave Earth, a lot of those questions got answered. Are there still unanswered questions with concave Earth? Of course. But I have a lot more answers now than I did as a flat earther. You know what I mean? And so it's just a journey, and it's just showing signs of progression. That's true. Land is generally solid while water flows and crashes. Yeah, Cheryl, say hi.
Hi.
I'm here with Kitty.
Hi.
We're actually using her channel.
I'm wanting to use my computer.
Thanks, Cheryl.
So that's why it says my channel name.
Yeah, it probably says Kitty over here, right? If I do this.
Sorry, I'm a little upset.
Yeah.
I want to be on screen.
I think we touched on several important things. The rotation of Earth and the Sun. But I think as a something I hadn't yet figured out when I was a flat earther. I had never, I still knew that it all the while, like the southern stars and the position and the altitude of the sun, the map issues, there's still lots of problems with flat Earth, and which means England. So what you're saying is that England is near the celestial axis, because you've got a constellation going around your house, which means that your house must be near a celestial axis. Now that doesn't mean it's near an earthly axis, but a celestial one. Well, in a sense, but not. I don't see the Big Dipper going like around my house without going below a horizon. You know what I'm saying? I can see that the Big Dipper moves in a circular fashion, but it doesn't stay in the sky like all 300 degrees of its celestial rotation. No, I don't see that. I didn't see that in New Hampshire. I didn't see it in Georgia, and I don't see it here in Detroit. No. That's an interesting observation. I want to see that because I've been noticing more and more. Like lots of people are uploading lots of footage about strange things going on in the sky. But that would be one heck of an anomaly if you had a celestial axis right over your house. That's interesting. I think there's a lot of things I don't know and understand about the sky. I think that's true for a lot of people. We don't have a firm. I mean, most of humanity doesn't even understand the dirt and water yet. So we're pretty far away from understanding what's way up there in the sky and the lights and whether tangible or untangible. There's all kinds of questions about the way electricity and energy and magnetism's working and how our seasons are really created. Yeah, there's definitely water in between us and the lights. That's for sure. Well, I don't think the Earth is convex. I think it's more concave. Well, like I said before, simple deduction. There's lots of evidence that sound, energy, frequency, and vibration have to do with a lot of things rather than theories like gravity and stuff like that. I don't see any evidence for axial rotation, and I just don't see any evidence for convexity. But I don't see any evidence of flatness either. When people do measure the water, they seem to get concavity. If you take a third measurement point, if you measure, so you have one shoreline here and another shoreline here of a lake, and you can see from one shoreline to the other, and you would say, well, that's far enough where the Earth can't be convex because we can see too far. But if you're not going to measure in the middle, then you've got no right to say that it's flat because you haven't measured in the middle. All you're disproving is the downwards curvature. And so I get so many people when I try to tell them that it's not flat, that it's concave, and they just want to react like fools and say, well, we're not spinning, well, we can see too far. And it's like most people they're just so brainwashed by this silly flat earth idea that it just gets aggravating after a while because they want to believe that there's no such thing as anything but flat water. Right, that's one of the things where it can only be flat or concave. And there's other reasons why it has to be concave or convex. So like I said, it's a process of elimination. So there's no room for a convex Earth. There's also no room for a flat Earth. They're just both wrong. It's just, you know what I mean? And so part of the struggle is waiting for people to progress because not everyone has enough time to research this stuff. Not everyone cares about the truth enough. Not everyone is as dedicated. Most people are happy realizing they don't live on a spinning ball and they don't actually care what the Earth is. So they're happy with flat Earth. That's their truth, and they just want to stay there. So you just gotta let them. But either way, we don't come from like this godless Big Bang. So I mean that's cool, right? And so that's like I was touching on with earlier with belief. If you believe you've found a truth, then you're gatekeeping yourself. If you fail to consider new information, nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. Yeah, whether the Earth is flat, concave, or convex, if it doesn't help someone make more money, they don't care. And so that's unfortunately that's the world we live in. People don't care about anything real. We know the financial structure is nothing but a hoax, and it's all people care about. So it sucks. It's the same problem flat Earth has. Concave Earth has it too. Well, it's different. It's different spots at different distances at different spots. Again, I don't know how far away that barge was because basically I was zooming along the water using two different objects for points of reference, And so I can't give you a totally accurate distance to the fishing boat, or a totally accurate distance to the cargo barge, or an accurate distance to the opposite shoreline behind it. But what I'm showing is that, first of all, we shouldn't be able to see the opposite shoreline if the Earth was convex, and if the water were flat, it shouldn't all be ramping up. It shouldn't all be curving up if it's flat. It's curving up because it's curving up. Well, the people that get in the water and not only using the camera, but use your eyes, get in the water, go neck high, make sure you're submerged in the water up above your shoulders, but obviously below your mouth and your nose and your eyes, and you can see the water's curving up. You can use a camera and put that close to the water, and whether you have points of reference or not, even if there's not a single boat out there, you zoom across, and you can, obviously when you zoom in, it's going to compress your view of what you're seeing. And so the upwards curvature is more compressed the more you zoom. And so obviously the water isn't curving up that drastically, when I'm at full zoom. With your naked eye, it curves up a lot less drastically, but you can see the curvature with your eyes. You can see the curvature with your camera. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can see it. It's the upwards curvature of water. It's just a natural observation there for anybody to see, but most people don't care. And the flat earthers don't want to see it because the flat earthers don't want to see the upwards curvature because they don't want to be wrong twice. Well, on land, the land is hills and valleys. So the shape of dirt is there's almost an infinite amounts of shape of dirt. So no one is interested in the shape of dirt. The Earth is going to conform to the. Overall, I think it's right there. It's clear as day. Kansas is concave. Period. So at a great scale. Oh, thank you, honey. You got me a drink.
No, that's fine.
Well, I don't know about all the other 49 states. I guess I'm just saying based on that observation, it's the Earth has hills and valleys. So that's why the rectilinear experiment doesn't really have much. It's a very difficult experiment to try to. I think the fishing line and plumb bobs are much better experiments to ascertain. Well, the fishing line experiment will show the shape of water. The plumb bob experiment will show the quote unquote gravitational field, or it'll show where the center of gravity is, above us or below us. Gravity. Well, I think Colorado is incredibly convex because it's full of mountains. You know what I'm saying? So a mountain is convex. You see what I'm saying? So the terrain of dirt overall, the Earth could be a perfect sphere, convex or concave. It doesn't mean the dirt is going to be a perfect sphere, but the water will be. The water is going to show the real shape of our world better than the dirt will. That's all. That's you know what I mean. But we don't know that. But is there evidence to show that the other 49 states are not concave? I think if they did that geographical, why only Kansas? Let's do it with all 50. Imagine that. Imagine if they did it with all 50 and they're all concave. Well, then what? That's not going to happen. Right, exactly. That's why they only did it with Kansas. Well, we can still see far in concave Earth. So, a long distance observation doesn't disprove concave Earth. It's a long distance observations support flat and concave Earth. They only hurt convex Earth because there's no downwards curvature. We don't need to look through dirt and water to see that distance like the convex Earth. Because there's convex globe maps and there's concave globe maps. Well, I mean, the Earth is 8,000 miles wide, and a human is 5 or 6 feet tall. So, of course, the Earth is going to appear flat to some creature that's so small compared to the size of the Earth. I mean, why wouldn't it? One human is so small. Why wouldn't it look flat? I mean, of course it's going to look flat. You know what I mean? I bet the Earth could be half the size and still look flat. From one person so freaking small. And you say, well, that's an argument a globehead uses. Yeah, so it's a valid one. You're only 5 feet tall. How the fuck is, you know? I mean, one person is so small compared to a sphere 8,000 miles. We live on the inside of the sphere, not the outside. It's just a direct inversion. Yeah, it's just a direct inversion. We don't live on the outside of the sphere. We live on the inside of the sphere. Right. You wouldn't need to, because you can maintaining level. People think that level only means flat, and it's just foolish, because you can have level relative to a sphere, whether it's the inside of the sphere or the outside of the sphere. As long as you're perpendicular to the center of the sphere, you're level. So just because gravity is false doesn't mean there's not such thing as spherical water. And so the forces, the up and down forces, see, flat Earth disproves gravity, but then it can't prove what is happening, like concave Earth can. Concave Earth understands that there's up forces and down forces. See, gravity fails because it's a singular pulling force holding everything to a rotating sphere. And while that's stupid, yes, it's really dumb, okay? What's also dumb is that there's no forces, and it's just density and buoyancy, okay? Even, like, that's even dumber. That's dumber than dumb, is to say that there's no forces. Buoyancy isn't a force. Buoyancy is a result. Density is not a force. Density is a property. So you've got a property and a result from what? There's forces acting upon the Earth, and flat earthers just refuse to acknowledge that. They want to say, oh, it's just density and buoyancy. No, it's not. It's not just density and buoyancy. There's all kinds of real forces, magnetism, air pressure, whatever. There's etheric pressure. There's all kinds of things acting upon the Earth that create things to either rise or fall. Nothing should rise if gravity is just a singular pulling force pulling everything down, then smoke, helium, nothing should rise. If gravity is just a one-way ticket downwards, then how the hell is anything going up? Nothing should be going up if gravity were true. But if no forces exist, like Flat Earth Land wants to claim, then that's even worse, because they can't explain why anything goes down. They can't explain why anything goes up. Nobody can explain why when I let this go, it doesn't move sideways. Why doesn't it fucking move sideways? Hello? If it's just density and buoyancy, then why doesn't it move sideways then? Nobody wants to go there. The only people that go there are concave earthers. So that's why I know the Earth is a big fucking joke. The heliocentricity and flat Earth are just battling, trapping people. And it's just, for some, flat Earth is a stepping stone to greater truth. To people who actually give a shit and care about the truth, then that's a stepping stone. For the people that don't, they just want to laugh at flat Earth and be like, ah. So I strongly recommend that the average person research flat Earth, because you're not going to get to step 2 unless you go through step 1. That simple. I can't make it any clearer, you know. So it takes I probably sound like a jerk. I know, I'm so sorry, but that's what happens to people who accept new information, you know. And for a guy like me that, 1, accepts new information, and 2, cares that people are deceived about a psyop. Most people are deceived about a heliocentric psyop, and now other people are deceived about a flat Earth psyop. Some people are deceived about a concave Earth psyop too. So I'm just saying, like, there's more to learn. So
Yeah.
no, this is the first one for me. So I think it's really cool. Thank you for having me on. But me too. Me too. I'd like to talk more about. I'd like more to talk more about my experience next time, rather than my beliefs or opinions or my observations or my footage or anything like that. I'd like to talk more of my experience with the community, because I think it's pretty important that we too much. There's like lots of division, you know what I mean? And everyone wants to. There's so many things that we can be divided on, and if people really care about why we're being lied to about our habitat, we have to keep in contact. We can't just block everybody and want to oh, he thinks this, block, it's not productive. It's not fruitful. It's not progressive. It's not helping. It's just not help. It's not helping. We're all going to have our different. Nobody learns everything in the same order or at the same pace. So we're all going to have our different perspectives. Some of us are a lot further along than others, and so I'm further along than a lot of people. There's a lot of people more further along than me, and for us to, the only people we need to separate ourselves from are the bitter, hateful people who want to attack. We've got no room for them. But aside from that, we've got to stop letting our personal opinions divide us in ways that are really kind of silly. Because if we really want to better this world and quote unquote wake everybody up, for lack of a better term, but really just the massive spread of knowledge, that it's not even about the knowledge. The knowledge is easy to acquire. It's getting people to care. And if we're gonna segregate ourselves, then that's the saddest thing we can do, Sure. Karen, Cheryl had a question for you here.
Oh,
Here.
she had a question for me.
Sure, yeah. Tell her about Kitty Loves Wheat.
Hi, how are you? I'm 100%, I believe it's concave. I think it's the only thing that makes sense. But I'm not as into the science as he is. I don't have the same, I go at it more from a common sense perspective. I don't think we're spinning, what is it, 1,000 miles an hour? No, I've been really sick. I had a really bad sinus infection. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of being camera shy. So I might cough, so I've been coughing. No, I just, we're not spinning, the sky is moving. That's logical, I would think, correct? And also when I was little, I remember the water always curved up. And I asked my aunt, because we used to go up to the lake, Port Huron, and I noticed the water wasn't bending over, and I'm like, wait a minute. And she was a school teacher. I asked her, why was it not going down? It didn't look flat to me. It looked like it was going up. And they gave me some stupid reason, and I don't remember what it was. And so then when I became, I don't even like to call myself awake. I think it's really cheesy. But two years ago.
It's a bad term.
Yeah, I mean, I was fed all this stuff about, the false flags, all that kind of stuff. And I saw the flat earth videos. I watched them. I'm like, well, that makes sense. But then I could never make sense of any of the maps. They just don't work. I mean, the latitude, longitude doesn't work at all. And nobody had an answer. And there's all these channels. And then I stumbled on the concave. And I could see the sphere, the way the celestial sphere works with the stars. If it's I don't live in an area where it's clear that often, but I went on vacation and it was super clear skies and we were up higher. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly and if you look up celestial sphere, they show you the ball of stars. Yeah, but it all has to work together, don't you think? No, the land, I'm not sitting there thinking the land is a perfect sphere either. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, you have different levels and, I mean, the land is mostly visually flat. I mean, we don't really know exactly, you know what I'm saying? It's I can't go out and measure every piece of land there is, you know what I'm saying? But I don't necessarily think everything is right, like he was saying in the model that we're told. I mean, I can't prove all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I can just sense that we're in a creation. I don't see evidence of space. I've never seen real evidence of outer space ever. Do you know what I'm saying? It seems like that's all just like, CGI and stuff. So, I mean, it can only be so many shapes. So it's like, if somebody had shown me an actual working flat model, I probably would have been like more, but I couldn't make sense of. There's another thing that doesn't work, like the day moon doesn't work on a flat plane. Because if the moon is like, if I can see the sun and my moon and I'm in the Eastern time zone, that makes no sense. Like the moon should really be on the other side of the, well, I hate to say planet, but you know what I'm saying? How does that work on a flat plane? Doesn't make any sense. But if we're, are you, yeah, that's why he calls it apparition of it. So we're just seeing it on our, it's like we're all seeing it in the clouds, the sun in the clouds, the moon in the clouds. Like it's like, I just that simulation thing. I was kind of grasping at that for a while, but I can't get the teleporting and crossing the international date line and all that with thousands of planes a day. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. So, but yeah, that's what I think. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I was a little gun shy, but nice to meet you. All right. No, I haven't done one in a long time. Okay, nice to meet you. Here's Becca. Here, okay, I'm gonna put him back there.
Hello? Yeah, sure. That was perfect because I needed to use the restroom. Yeah, the most important thing, which that Karen and I both agree on, is that love is most important. So we're all going to have our own beliefs and opinions in different stages of our journey and all this other stuff. But really, for loving people, a loving person is going to have room for all kinds of opinions and beliefs. The only thing we really don't have room for is those hateful people that want to attack all the time. So. Karen, as far as I'm concerned, Karen's a very loving person, very friendly, and so, despite our disagreements, she still had me on. So I really appreciate, Karen's attitude. Really cool. Right. And that's something I think is really important is listening. A lot of people they just don't want to listen. They're just not interested. They're not interested in new information. So it kind of stinks that it's such a small community of people that are actually, in the online world. There's a lot of like fakes, just like sock accounts and fake like just silliness. You know what I mean? And so coming across real people that actually care, it's different. It's more valuable.
We learnt a long time ago that most people that came along to our group, they had a piece of the puzzle. They didn't have the whole puzzle, but they had a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that's all each person has is a piece,
No one person's gonna.
That's all each person has is a piece,
Yeah, because we no one person can do this on their own. We can only do this together.
Right. Exactly. It's gonna take a lot of teamwork. I mean, one person can only do so much. One person is not gonna save the world. It's gonna take. More of us have to take responsibility.
Well, I've really enjoyed today. Thank you so much for taking the time out because I know it was a little bit difficult for you to to get to the hangout in the first place. I'd like to talk again in the future, Josh. And anyway, we talk to each other on Facebook.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like that. I'd like for us to have a part 2.
That would be brilliant. And it was very nice to meet Cheryl, even if she's not feeling that good.
No, Cheryl's great. She's an amazing friend. She's helped me out a lot, and I'm really thankful I came up here to Michigan to meet her because aside from the footage that I've got, I found someone that's very, very unique.
Oh, bless her. And not just that, she's a concaver.
Yeah, that falls under the unique category too.
Got someone like an ally to start with. Anyway, Josh, Patricia, are you there, Patricia?
I'm here.
She's a great listener, I think. Wow.
I am a good listener, actually. Just thought I'd put that in there. But yeah, it's been really fascinating. I love hearing, like Karen was saying, everyone's a piece of the puzzle, and just sometimes they don't quite fit at the right time. It's maybe months or weeks or whatever later, you go, you know, the light bulb comes on and you go, it makes sense now. But you have to remember the information in the first place, which I'm terrible at. But if you think about it, if there wasn't people, this information wouldn't be available. You know, the knowledge we know wouldn't be there, would it? Without people, and that's the most important thing, the people.
Right. That's why we do this is to I mean, we can't share information we don't have. So first we gotta have information to share it. So it's a difficult balance. It's a difficult balance because you need the people to get the information. You need the information to get the people, you know.
Yeah, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right. You need the car to get the gas, but you need the gas to get the car.
Yeah.
Well, Patricia, thank you very much for listening and your end comment. Joshua, thank you so much. And we will do this again shortly. So we'll say goodbye when I actually press the button, but just for this, we're saying goodbye to everybody because I'm going to premiere it. So, mwah, Cheryl and Joshua, Patricia, mwah, and chat room. Thank you very much.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Love you, Josh. Love you, Cheryl. Love you, Karen. I keep forgetting you, don't I, Karen? Sorry.
They said they love you, Karen
Oh,
and Patricia. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little sick.
No, that's okay.
Oh, bless her.
Anyway, mwah, to everybody. I'm going to turn the button off now, but stay there for a moment, Josh. Bye, everybody.